Oh, here we go. Welcome to Dwarf Fortress on Steam. I've been playing Dwarf Fortress for a while now, so I'm very excited to delve into this updated version. Here we have our 7 starting dwarves. 2 miners, a metalsmith, a farmer/butcher, 2 cooks/brewers, and a manager. It's everything we need for a new fortress. The miners are fixated on, well, mining. Every other dwarf is doing any job that needs doing. These are all the animals that we embarked with. Some dogs for protection, companionship, and food. Cats for hunting vermin and being a general nuisance. Peacocks for eggs, and also the thought of dwarves bringing in these beautiful peacocks is just funny to me. Turkeys would be much more efficient, or geese because of their ferocity. But this is Dwarf Fortress we're talking about, and my dwarves want to eat peacocks. We also have a water buffalo cow and a one-humped camel that were used to pull the wagon. I'll pasture them for now. We embarked in early spring to start a new fortress in Untamed Wilds. Our fortress will be called Mirrorwalk. I didn't name it. Our only neighbors are sturgeon, a snapping turtle, a giant sponge, giant snail, and a flock of giant ravens. Get used to dire animals and the possible beastman. It's the Untamed Wilds. Anything can happen. The miners strike the earth and begin carving out my plans for the fortress layout. The first few workrooms are carved out, so I give the order to begin building workshops. I always try to start with carpentry, mason, now called stoneworker, mechanic, and crafts dwarfs workshops, which is now shortened to crafts. This will give you the first simple items and furniture that you will need to speed up your fortress to being self-sufficient. Work orders are invaluable to smooth workshop operation, if you set it up right, which is hard to do sometimes. But before I can give the work orders, I need a manager. Have fun being the manager, broker, and bookkeeper. This should work for now. Always try to have a bucket at the ready, just in case. They're really only for when a dwarf gets hurt or something's thirsty, but they always complain about needed buckets, so what do I know? A wooden minecart for dubious purposes. Wooden cages are for trapping invaders and our own pets. Rock blocks are a necessity. They speed up hauling and crafting time when used. Doors keep bad guys out and good dwarves in, and crazed or possessed dwarves extra in. Tables and chairs, they're for sitting and eating typically. Mechanisms are used in contraptions like levers, floodgates, bridges, traps, and dwarven atom smashers. I just like rock pots over barrels, okay? I don't even remember the reason why I use them, I just always have. I like using spiked balls in my traps for a very important reason that I can explain in detail later. I'll just stockpile them for now until they're useful. Speaking of stockpiles, I create a stockpile strictly for lightweight goods. That's almost everything except for animal cages, furniture, refuse, and stones. I do the same, but for the heavy stuff. Oh, someone's grumpy already. I better keep an eye on him before he's a liability. The miners hit a light aquifer while digging a ramp down for any future trade caravans. Nothing much you can do except to dig out the adjacent areas and fill it back in with walls to keep the water from seeping out. The miners are now digging out the main entrance hall into the fortress. I'm planning on installing security bridges, traps, a guard dog, and if all that fails, any invaders should be funneled directly into the militia training area. Our wagon is almost completely sealed off. Soon our goods will be, well, almost completely out of reach of any non-dwarves. Why is this guy so mad? I yelled at somebody in charge. I'm relieved. My boy sure likes yelling. I'm up to my old dwarven tricks, and I want to see if quantum stockpiles still work in the Steam version. First, build a track stop. Make sure it's pointing towards where the single tile stockpile will be, and that it has maximum friction. Next, assign a single tile stockpile to hold a combination of whatever other stockpiles you want. I usually just say everything except corpses and refuse, since that will degrade your other items. Also, no prepared food or drinks. Drinks must be stored in barrels, and that just isn't compatible with this system. Now make a new minecart route. Name it, add a minecart, and add a stop and click on the track stop. Make sure the minecart can take everything, then say to take from whichever stockpiles that you want to pull from. Finally, just remove all the conditions. You don't want the dwarves messing with the minecart. This tells your dwarves that the minecart will be parked here and to be continuously filled in with whatever was stored in your stockpiles. The track stop that it's sitting on will make the minecart dump everything onto the single tile stockpile, which drastically cuts down on stockpile space. I give the order to close off the wagon from the outside world. The only way in is now from the ramp leading into the entrance hall. With a simple door, table, and a chair, I designate an office for the manager to organize work orders and keep up the stocks and bookkeeping. With the office furnished and occupied, we go from this to this. No one is gathering plants for some reason. Dwarf therapist this ain't. Let's get the kitchen area dug out so we can start growing crops. Urist McAngry Dwarf is our grower who's attending a meeting. Hopefully the farming life will relax him a bit. Summer is here, time to prepare for our first migrant wave. I want these walls smoothed, but no one's doing them. Is smoothing now called stone cutting? What's the difference between stone carving and stone cutting? I don't like it. He's still mad after a rousing bout of yelling and crying. At least he's farming now. He plants some staple dwarven crops, and we spice it up with a few above ground seeds for exotic wines. Another floor is carved out, and this quadrant will be used as a tavern. A dwarf has to stay nice and drunk to work. Really, they have to be constantly drinking. A tavern is a nice way for them to relax. Actual tables and chairs optional at this point, unfortunately. Hey, our first migrant wave. Even if every dwarf is trash, we can always use haulers. I can't put my finger on it, but one of these migrants is not like the others. Doctor Necromancer isn't a bad profession if you think about it. If you can't heal them, you can just raise them good as new. Armok, I sure hope raised dwarf zombies don't just immediately attack everyone with this guy in here. I have no idea how civilian necromancers work. Oh well, looks like we have a new chief medical dwarf. A large area is carved out for the trade depot. Don't worry about the design, it'll make sense later. I designated another quadrant to be carved out. This will be the new living quarters. I assigned the proper labors to the cook dwarves, so we should now be expecting proper meals and more booze. Let's make this big area a temple so the dwarves can get their religion needs met. Dwarves worship quite the pantheon of interesting deities. We have Lim, who rules over trickery and lies. Vetek Sweet Passion, who rules over fortresses, war, marriage, and family. Sutton the Ashen Snot, who rules over death, disease, and deformity. One worshipper, huh? I bet it's the doctor. Idrath, the Way of Taxes? There's a literal god of taxes. Why? I choose no specific deity so everyone can join us. Maybe I can make specialized temples later for fun. For some reason the bridge and trade depot just aren't being built. I really need these completed before the caravan arrives in autumn. The kitchen area looks great. Some crops are growing and meals and drinks are being prepared. Miners begin digging out animal pen areas and a refuse zone so we can start dumping all of our garbage in a safe area. Dwarves are finally gathering plants from the surface, and we have lots of new fruits to brew. It turns out it was my fault. I made a specialized peasant labor class for the dwarves just to go gather plants and do all kind of other stupid stuff that no one else needs to do. And somehow it wasn't set to everyone does this, so yeah, really easy to mess up. The refuse area is done, but it's right in the middle of a light aquifer. Time to dig out the adjacent tiles and fill it back in with walls to keep water from flooding the fortress again. Bedrooms are carved out, and now they just need beds and doors. That should cheer people up. Autumn's here, and because of my minor goof with the labors, The bridge and trade caravan are now just starting to be constructed. A giant tick is fighting a sturgeon. I suddenly feel like we need more defenses. There are so many new fruits and veggies being gathered. Oh man, roper reeds are great, because we can grow them ourselves now and make thread and cloth out of them. Hey, always remember to double check the kitchen's drink tab to make sure the chefs aren't cooking all your booze away. I can grow spelt? What is spelt? A stack of 2 spelt. I had to look it up. It can be brewed into beer or ground into flour. Looks like they're way ahead of me. Aw crap, the trade caravan is here with no depot in sight. Just in time. Maybe these migrants will come in clutch and build the trade depot so the remaining merchants can trade. This is important because the traders are an easy way to get more food, as well as to share with others how prosperous we are, which in turn attracts more migrants. Our first migrant is an undead dwarf. A putrid butcher. Okay. I need to get this one in armor and hand her a weapon to start an undead militia. Maybe I can use the good doctor to help make more of these fortress-friendly zombies. Oh, another necromancer. This time a weaponsmith. Disdains peace. Isn't that nice? The dwarven liaison wants to speak to us. The liaison shares the world map with us and asks us to make some trade proposals for next year. I bet. Bridge is done. Please finish the trade depot before the merchants get bored and leave. Praise Armok they made it. I send over 2 barrels of prepared meals because meals always sell for a lot. Looks like each food barrel is roughly 3,500 dwarf bucks each. We trade 1 barrel of prepared meals for all of the merchants' meat, plants, and cheeses. They're happy, and now we can make even more meals from this trade, so I'm happy. I build a lever and link it to the trade depot bridge. Now we can seal off the trade depot and not worry about thieves while we unload our goods. Oh, is that right? I forgot to mention that there's a miner digging stairs straight down. Caverns are large underground areas where mushrooms grow as tall as trees, and strange/deadly fauna roam. It's not a big deal right now. We can seal up any openings and start digging again until we hit our ultimate goal. That was fast. This cavern seems much more barren. Pond grabbers, the dangerous cavern dwellers that grab nearby creatures and drown them. Beautiful. This peahen is weak and skinny. This one's average. Average? Fat and small. Incredibly skinny. I nicknamed the biggest peahen to play genetics with it, but nicknames don't show up in the pet viewer. I guess I became too used to Dwarf Therapist and DF Hack. I miss seeing every detail. This peacock is average? Whoa, incredibly muscular for one so small. Please make fat, muscular babies for optimum peafowl. We've done it. Magma can be used to power forges and smelters, so we don't have to rely on wood and coal. Man, winter already. The year is almost over. What's this? Our favorite dwarf is still mad as hell. Looks like he really needs to craft an object? I decide to make him a jeweler instead to help meet some of his needs. Look at this nonsense. This is a much better name suited for a dwarf of his caliber. Let's take some time and learn about our world. This is us, the Dwarven Fortress of Mirrorwalk. Our local government was named the Paper of Cavities. We hail from the civilization known as the Notched Anvil, which is a much more dwarfy name. We're surrounded by small human hamlets, and elven retreats to the northeast, and goblin pits to the southeast. It looks like the Notched Anvil has always had a necromancer problem. 2 necromancers competed in a mace-throwing competition only a year before we embarked. Also, a putrid zombie became a count? I guess our civ is very open-minded about the undead. Look how detailed this is. Udil Portal Year was born in the year 24, but in year 50 she became obsessed with her own mortality. She had numerous relationships for another 90-odd years until she met the putrid butcher Tekud Weakened Diamonds, who taught her the secrets of life and death. Now that she's a necromancer, she moved to the tower named Strife Seals and apprenticed under the zombie, where she taught another dwarf the secrets of life and death and gained an apprentice of her own. Udil wrote several books before being captured and enslaved by the human civilization, the Fancy Empires. 6 years later, Udil managed to escape and fled to the dwarven hillocks named Romantic Theaters, where she became a brewer. Udil fought in many sieges that were attacking her new home. She even formed a warrior's bond with Stakud Mergetomes, who apparently was no stranger to necromancers because at just 9 years old she befriended a literal demon named Momoz Covered Steak. Momoz was a one-eyed humanoid. It has thin wings of stretched skin, its eye glows lime, its charcoal skin is sleek and smooth. Aw, it looks like Momoz was struck down during a siege led by none other than the Fancy Empires. Wow, Udil sure likes her mace throwing competitions. Look at that, she started winning them near the end. Looks like having immortality really lets you get good at mace throwing. Udil's mother was born in year 3, turned into a zombie at some point, then died in year 209. Her father was born in year 2 and died year 160. It even shows who she worships. It's the usual suspects, except for she secretly worships a forest titan. Lush usually means the titan's made out of leaves or dirt, which is really cool thematically, as long as they don't try to attack you, because then they just crumple in one hit. Okay, never mind, this titan's nuts. A great three-eyed bison, it has a long pair of antennae and has an austere look about it. Its lemon hair is short and even, beware its webs. So it's a giant, lemon yellow, three-eyed bison with antennae that can shoot webs, and it has a strict manner about itself. Oh, and it killed 50 dwarves, alive and undead, and 1 human. I hope it pays us a visit one day.